Okay, today we're looking at math lesson 9.4. Use mental math to assess reasonableness. Okay, reasonableness is our answer even close to being correct? Can we reason through it and find out if we're even close? So the spark you're learning is a store has 212 shirts for sale. So altogether they're going to sell 212 shirts. The store sells 77 shirts. Luke says there are about 130 shirts left to sell. Micah says that there are about 300 shirts left to sell. Whose statement is reasonable? That group back there, whose statement do you think is reasonable? Luke's. How about you guys?
Luke.
Why did you choose Luke?
Because they didn't even have 300 shirts.
They didn't even have 300 shirts to sell. Okay. Hudson?
Luke said the word
About? Yes. And Micah says about too, though. So we're really estimating. Have you heard of estimating?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of.
Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to put in our box. So it can't be close to 300 because there are only 212 shirts, right?
Yeah.
So what is 212 close to? 100.
130.
200, no. If I tell you I have 200 and I ask you to round that to the nearest 100, what would you round it to? 200. So the total, whoa, yes. Okay, we'll talk about what you wrote.
Wait, so we have to because we still have to write it.
Wait. Okay, so if you're at home, this is how we would reason this. They said there were 212 shirts to sell, right? And we talked about that 212 is close to 200, correct? The number of shirts the store sells is 77, and so they rounded that to the nearest 25, right? 77 is close to 75. Then subtract 75 from 200 to find the close answer for the number of shirts. So they took 200 minus 75, and that's 125. So there are about 125 shirts to sell. So Luke's statement is correct because he said there were about what? 130 shirts to sell. Now I know that I need you to reckon. Tell me what your group wrote.
We think Luke is correct because he is closer to our answer, 135 than 300.
Okay, so you went ahead and did the math, but we're supposed to be trying to use mental math. And that is why they rounded it to 200 and then to 75. Because you should be able to subtract that in your brain, not necessarily have to write it down. Okay, so you found the real answer to be what?
135.
135. And then you said, well, 130 is close to 135. How about the back group? Did you have anything written down?
No.
No or yes?
It was a question, but I did it actually wrong because
Market has 53 cans of fruit and 44 cans of vegetables for sale. Rachel says that there are about 140 cans of food for sale. Is Rachel's statement reasonable? How can we use a number line to show your thinking? Well, anybody got any ideas? Brecken, what do you think we should do? We can jump, okay? Does anybody have any idea about where we're going to start? Where would we start, do you think? Well, let's start with one of our numbers up here. Okay, 53 Or 44. Okay, they say 44. Okay, does anybody know where 44 is going to be on this number line? Right here. Right before the 45 line, right? Everybody mark that? Yes. 44, we're going to be right between the 40 and the 50, just before that little line. Okay, now let's mark 53 on our number line, which is going to be partway between the 50 here and the 60, but closer to 55. All right, now, since we're doing reasonableness, what could we say 43 is? That would be easy to add. Or 44, I'm sorry. If we're looking at tens numbers, which one's it closer to? 40 or 50? Okay, so we could say 44 is close to, what did I say, 40? And what one could we say that 53 is close to? Okay, and 53 is close to 50. So can we add 40 plus 50 in our brain? Okay, so 40 plus 50 is what? 90. Okay. It says, Rachel says that there are about 140 cans of food to sell, and we're trying to see, does that even look reasonable? Does it? She says there's 140. So is that close?
Kind of.
Okay, so I'm going to change my marker color, hopefully. And we're going to mark our estimates. So we said 90. Okay. Right here. I would even have to extend my number line to make it as long as Rachel says. I would have to go 110, 120, 130, 140. You don't have to do this part. To get out here to where she is. And so I don't think her answer is necessarily reasonable. Is Rachel's statement reasonable? What do we think?
No.
No, it is not reasonable. No. Whoops. No. Because the sum Rachel found was much greater than what we found, right? Okay, so no, the sum Rachel found is much greater than what I found. When we estimated 44 to be 40, then we underestimated by 4 there just a little bit. And 53 we underestimated that to be 50, but we only underestimated things to be off by 8 points, or sorry, 7 points. So I know that 90 is a more reasonable answer than her 100. $140. If you're at home, please copy this. Hey, go on to the Step It Out. A toy store has 283 toys for sale. There are 69 board games. Hector says that there are about 215 toys that are not board games. Is Hector's statement reasonable? Use mental math to decide. About how many toys are for sale? What are we going to estimate 283 to be? What's the 10 number closest to that? 280. So what are we going to have to subtract from 283 to get 283? Okay. And why are we rounding it? Whoops. Why are we rounding it to 280? Okay. And it's easier to work with than 283, right? Yeah. Okay. How about how many board games are there? Make 69 a friendly number. What could be a friendly number for 69? 70. Okay, so what would we have to do to 69 to make it 70? Add 1. Okay, and now that is 70. Using friendly numbers, what equation can you write to solve? Well, what did we change 283 to?
It to 280.
Okay. And are we going to add here or subtract? No, we're going to subtract because we're trying to find the number of toys that are not board games. So we're going to have 280 subtract 70. Can we do that in our head? Right, because 80 minus 70 is 10, right? And then we have to have our 200. About how many toys are not board games? About 210. Is Hector's statement reasonable? What did Hector say?
200.
He said 200, so is his statement reasonable? Yeah. Yes, Hector's statement is reasonable. Oh, sorry, I thought you were Hayden coming back in. I didn't even look up. Okay, so if you're at home and you're listening, sorry we got interrupted and I forgot to turn the recording off for a little bit. But we were discussing that, yes, Hector's statement is reasonable. His answer was, what did we say? 215. So he's only 5 different than what we got. Okay, so Hector's statement is reasonable because 215 is close to 210. The difference that yes, Hector's statement is reasonable because 215 is close to my number. Ooh, we better spell number correctly. 210. Okay, so if you're at home, go ahead and stop your recording and get this down. Okay, if you're watching this at home, I hope you got filled in what we got filled in and have some understanding. You will need to come to school and work with Mrs. Stegman on your homework.